Life was simple but full of meaning, and much of that was because of my father, Adamu. I was his only child, his precious daughter, and he treated me like a treasure. My father wasn't just any man, he was the village schoolteacher, a man everyone admired and respected. People would come to him for advice on all kinds of matters: education, family, or even village disputes. He had a way of making everyone feel heard and valued. At school, he was known for being strict but fair. At home, he was different. He was my mentor, my guide, and my friend. No matter how tired he was after a long day, he always made time for me. He would sit with me under the mango tree in our yard, telling me stories, helping me with my studies, or teaching me important life lessons. Baba, as I fondly called him, believed that education wasn't just about books and classrooms. Learning is everywhere, he would say, pointing at the sky or the flowing river nearby. Nature, people, and even the little things we do each day can teach us something important. I didn't fully understand it then, but my father's way of teaching went beyond school lessons. He wanted me to grow up wise, not just smart, and to make choices that would lead to a good and honorable life. Though I sometimes found his lessons tiring or unnecessary, I knew deep down that everything he did was out of love. My mother passed away when I was just a little girl, too young to fully understand what it meant to lose someone so important. All I knew was that she was gone, and life would never be the same again. Her absence left a quiet void in our home, a silence that sometimes felt too heavy to bear. But even in that emptiness, my father, Adamu, stepped forward, determined to be everything I needed. He wasn't just my father, he became my world. He took on the roles of both parents, doing his best to provide the love and care of a mother while maintaining the guidance and discipline of a father. He would braid my hair in the mornings, a task he wasn't very good at first, and cook simple meals that were always made with love. He would sit with me at night, reading stories or helping me with my schoolwork, even when I could see the weariness in his eyes. More than anything, my father valued education. "Mariam," he would often say, "if there's one thing I can give you, it's knowledge. It's the key to a better future." He poured his heart into teaching me, not just the lessons in my schoolbooks but the lessons of life: how to be kind, how to be strong, and how to believe in myself. Though life was not always easy, Baba made sure I never felt alone. His presence was my comfort, his wisdom my guide, and his unwavering love the foundation on which I grew. It wasn't just that he raised me, he nurtured me, shaping me into a girl who would one day understand the value of his sacrifices and the depth of his love. One warm afternoon, as the sun dipped low on the horizon, painting the sky with shades of orange, gold, and soft pink, my father and I sat quietly on the porch of our little house. The air was still, save for the occasional rustle of leaves or the chirp of crickets in the distance. It was a peaceful moment, but inside me, there was anything but peace. I had just turned 17, and my life felt like it was shifting in ways I couldn't explain. My body had started to change, and with it came a whirlwind of emotions: confusion, curiosity, and a shyness that made me hesitant to talk to anyone, even Baba. I often found myself lost in thought, wondering if the things I was experiencing were normal. My friends whispered about these things, but their words only left me more confused. I wanted to ask questions, but I didn't know how or where to start. It was as if I was carrying a secret, one that grew heavier each day. That evening, as I gazed at the fading light, my father's voice broke the silence. "Mariam," he said softly, his tone calm and steady, "there's something important we need to talk about." His words caught me off guard, and my heart raced. Did he know? Could he tell what I was going through? My cheeks burned with embarrassment, and I looked down, avoiding his gaze. "I can see you've been quiet lately," he continued, his voice full of understanding. "I want you to know that it's okay to feel confused. And it's okay to ask questions. You don't have to figure everything out on your own." I swallowed hard, unsure of what to say. But in that moment, something about the warmth in his voice and the kindness in his eyes made me feel a little braver. Baba wasn't there to judge me or make me feel small. He was there to help, just as he always had been. "Mariam," my father began, his voice gentle yet steady, "there are things you need to learn about yourself, about your body. As your father, I believe it is my responsibility to prepare you for life, even if it means discussing things that might feel a little uncomfortable. I sat still, my heart racing at his words. What was he talking about? I had no idea. The village girls often whispered about changes they were experiencing, about their bodies, about boys, and about things that made them giggle nervously. I always listened from a distance, too shy to ask questions, too afraid of being laughed at if I didn't understand. Now, hearing Baba speak so openly, I felt a mix of emotions, curiosity, embarrassment, and even fear. Why was he talking about this? What did he mean by things I need to learn? I froze, unsure of how to respond. I kept my eyes fixed on my hands, nervously twisting my fingers in my lap. The words I wanted to say, words like, I don't want to talk about this, or I'm fine, Baba, really stayed trapped in my throat. But Baba, being the patient man he was, didn't rush me. He waited, giving me time to process what he had said. When he finally spoke again, his voice was softer, as if he could sense my discomfort. Mariam, he said, you're growing up. You're becoming a young woman. And as much as I wish your mother were here to guide you through this, it's my job now. I can't pretend these things don't exist, and neither can you. Life is full of choices, and I want you to make yours with knowledge and confidence, not confusion or fear. His words hit me deeply. For the first time, I realized that this wasn't just a conversation, it was something bigger. It was about Baba wanting to protect me, to arm me with the knowledge that could shape my future. Despite my embarrassment, I began to feel a tiny spark of gratitude. Baba wasn't like other fathers in the village. He cared enough to have this conversation, even when it was hard. Over the next few days, my father began teaching me about my body in a way that was both respectful and deeply educational. It wasn't just a one-time conversation but a series of discussions that unfolded naturally, often during quiet moments when we were alone. At first, I felt awkward and out of place. I wasn't used to hearing these topics spoken about so openly, especially by a man, let alone my father. My cheeks would flush with embarrassment, and I found myself looking anywhere but at him as he spoke. But Baba had a way of making even the most uncomfortable topics feel manageable. His calm, measured tone and the professionalism he carried from his years as a teacher made it easier to listen. He started by explaining the basics, the importance of personal hygiene and how to care for my body as it changed. Your body is a gift, Mariam, he said one evening as we sat under the shade of the big mango tree in our yard. And like all precious things, it needs care and attention. He spoke about the changes I was experiencing, helping me understand the reasons behind them. You're growing up, and that means your body is preparing for new stages of life. It's normal, and it happens to every young girl. When he talked about menstruation, he did so with kindness and understanding. This is a natural process, Mariam, he said, handing me some money to buy the things I needed. There's nothing to be ashamed of. It's part of who you are, and knowing how to manage it will make you stronger. He showed me how to use sanitary products, patiently explaining each step so I wouldn't feel unsure or scared. At one point, I couldn't help but giggle nervously. It all felt so strange and new, but Baba smiled and said, "It's okay to laugh, Mariam. These things might seem awkward now, but soon they'll just be a normal part of your life." Beyond the physical aspects, he emphasized the importance of a healthy lifestyle. He taught me about eating nutritious foods, drinking enough water, and staying active. Your body is your home, he would often say. Take care of it, and it will take care of you. Day by day, the awkwardness began to fade, replaced by a sense of gratitude. I realized how lucky I was to have a father who cared enough to teach me these things, who wanted me to face life's challenges with confidence instead of fear. Baba wasn't just teaching me about my body, he was teaching me to respect and value myself in ways I hadn't understood before. One afternoon, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset behind the hills, Baba introduced a topic I hadn't expected. "Mariam," he said, his voice calm but firm, "there's something else I need to teach you, how to protect yourself." I looked at him, unsure of what he meant. "Protect myself?" I asked hesitantly. "Yes," he said, nodding. "The world can be kind, but it can also be unkind. And as you grow older, it's important to know how to keep yourself safe and prevent unwanted pregnancy." He began teaching me simple self-defense techniques, not the kind that required great strength, but the kind that relied on quick thinking and confidence. He showed me how to call for help in dangerous situations, how to create distance if someone made me feel uncomfortable, and how to stay alert in unfamiliar places. But the most important lesson was about boundaries. One evening, as we walked along the dirt path leading to our home, he stopped and turned to face me. "Your body is your own, Mariam," he said, his voice steady and serious. "No one has the right to touch you without your permission. Do you understand?" I nodded, but he repeated it, wanting to make sure I truly grasped the importance of his words. "No one, Mariam. Not a friend, not a stranger, not even someone you think you can trust. If something feels wrong, you have the right to say no and to stand your ground." Those lessons became a foundation for me, shaping how I saw myself and the world around me. And with each passing day, I grew more grateful for a father who loved me enough to prepare me for the challenges ahead. My mother passed away when my father was 45 years old, and after her passing, I could sense that he often felt lonely. There were moments when he would sit by himself on the porch or in the living room, staring into the distance with a look of deep thought on his face. It hurt me to see him that way. He had given so much to raising me alone, but I could tell that being without my mother was a heavy burden for him. Out of love and concern, I tried to encourage him to consider remarrying. I thought it might ease his loneliness and give him a new companion to share his life with. "Baba," I would say during our quiet conversations, "you don't have to stay alone forever. You deserve happiness, and you can have it again." But his answer was always the same: "No, Mariam. I'm fine on my own." His voice was always calm, yet resolute. I knew he wasn't trying to hurt my feelings, but his sense of loyalty to my mother's memory was strong. I respected his feelings but couldn't stop thinking that life might be different if he had someone by his side. I didn't give up, though. I continued to share my thoughts with him, offering gentle encouragement whenever I could. I would tell him stories of other families in the village, how remarrying brought joy and new beginnings to their lives. Little by little, he began to listen, and eventually, he agreed to meet a kind woman I thought might be a good match for him. The lady was beautiful, both inside and out. She had an easy smile, a warm personality, and a heart full of kindness. It wasn't long before Baba found himself growing fond of her, and as time went on, they grew closer. The happiness in his eyes when he spoke about her was something I hadn't seen in years. It made my heart leap with joy to see my father smile again. They eventually got married, and it felt like a fresh beginning for all of us. She brought laughter into our home, and her presence filled the empty spaces that had lingered since my mother's passing. Baba loved her deeply, and I could see that she loved him just as much. It was beautiful to watch the two of them build a new life together, and I was so happy to see my father find peace and companionship again. This taught me an important lesson about life. Even after loss, happiness can find its way back into our lives if we're open to it. My father's heart had remained strong, but it was even stronger when shared with love and companionship. I would always cherish the way love brought healing and joy to our family, showing me that new beginnings are possible, even in the most unexpected ways. Years later, after years of dedication and hard work, I achieved my dream of becoming a doctor. It was a moment I had worked so hard for, a symbol of all the sacrifices, struggles, and lessons that had shaped my journey. My heart swelled with joy and gratitude as I stood on the stage in my graduation gown, holding my diploma tightly. My father and my new mother sat in the front row, their faces glowing with pride as they watched me. My father's eyes were shining, his smile full of emotion as he clapped loudly. "You've made me so proud, Mariam," he said, his voice choked with emotion as a few tears spilled down his cheek. Those words stayed with me long after the ceremony ended. They were more than just words of pride, they were a testament to all the faith and support my father had placed in me throughout my life. His encouragement, his lessons, and his unwavering belief in my potential had led me to this very moment. After becoming a doctor, I knew I wanted to dedicate my career to helping others. But more importantly, I wanted to focus on educating young girls about their bodies and their health, just as my father had done for me when I was uncertain and confused. I wanted to give others the same courage and knowledge that he had given me. I traveled to many villages, teaching parents and children about important topics that were often considered taboo. These topics included understanding their bodies, recognizing the importance of personal health, learning about hygiene, and understanding how to avoid unwanted challenges as they grew. Many parents would listen hesitantly at first, unsure of how to approach these subjects, but I knew how important it was to have these open conversations. I shared stories and lessons, hoping to bring hope and change to every community I visited. And as I spoke, I would always think of my father and the foundation he had given me. He taught me about respect, strength, courage, and the power of knowledge, and it brought me fulfillment to pass that wisdom on to others. Looking back on my journey, I could see the depth of my father's love, strength, and courage. Despite the norms of our society, he chose to educate me. While others may have avoided difficult conversations or shyly stayed silent, my father chose to teach me how to live confidently and with dignity. He taught me lessons that would guide me for the rest of my life, lessons that empowered me to become the doctor I am today. My father did the unexpected. I often told people when they asked about my journey, and it changed my life forever. His choice to educate me, to teach me the truth about my body, to empower me with knowledge when others would have ignored the topic, it wasn't just about learning biology or personal health. It was about giving me the confidence to face life's challenges, to make wise decisions, and to live my life with strength and purpose. His lessons were a gift, one that would always stay with me as I worked to inspire others, just as he had inspired me. My journey, from a small girl learning on her father's porch to becoming a doctor and teacher, was a story of love, courage, and the power of education. And through every step, I carried my father's words with me: knowledge changes lives, and my journey would always begin with the lessons he gave me.